All right, so I have your question here. Are you ready?
This was a hard question to write down in my eyes. I wanted to give you guys an opportunity for something that could provide a lot of depth. So I'm excited to dive into it.
Well, I thought it was one of the coolest questions that we've gotten thus far.
One of the hardest things about working alone is that the clarity comes from you. It doesn't come from a boss who has a boss who has a boss. And so that clarity can be so hard to decide on.
There's two things that I heard there. One is the next level. And the second part of it is knowing, because I resonate a lot with that too.
I think there's an interesting juxtaposition to a couple of things that you've said already.
When have I not trusted myself in the work that I'm doing for other people? Almost never. I question how good it is for them. Like, I want to deliver amazing work for the people I'm working with.
So here's my question to you. When have you not trusted yourself?
You really want me to answer that honestly, Craig?
I would love for you to answer that honestly. Well, I think you've just uncovered something incredibly powerful, because what I would rather see you do is test, not trust.
There's a lot of questions there, but I will at least say something that you're sitting on that I don't think you realize that you can leverage in order to see that test is leverage.
I love that framing. That's such an interesting framing.
If we were to think back on this full conversation here, what sticks out to you as being like one of the main takeaways that you think you'll walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is just trusting.
Well, welcome to The Growth Question. I'm Craig Shoemaker, accompanied as always by my co-host, John Brosio. And we're here talking to Andrew Ellis, who has a very interesting and exciting question that we're about to tackle. So Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. I'm excited to be here and talk all about the growth question that we have going for us soon and everything, man. It's exciting.
That's awesome. Well, why don't you orient people, kick us off a little bit by telling us about you and a little bit about your business.
Yeah. So about 3 years ago, I had a really big client go under and I had to re-find what I was doing with my business. And at the same time, I had gotten right back into video editing and I found that that's kind of the niche that I want to be in. And it took me about a year and a half, but then I figured out that I'm going to create the product trailers and the things that you need for sales assets as videos for people's businesses, especially creators. So now I focus solely on creating amazing product trailers for people's services, products, and courses. And so I took a lot of inspiration from Masterclass and what I've seen online, and I turned that into a service that I can sell because there's nothing that beats having a video to build trust with somebody before they purchase your product or service.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a part of why we do what we do here. I feel like you get as close to a personal connection as you can get by having that video component of people being able to look into your eyes and hear you, how you intone things and your gestures and all of that in order to create connection.
For sure. There's nothing that beats video. It's amazing.
And take us through how you sell this, right? Like what's kind of your influence if you have it? How do you find people? Are you kind of just digitally knocking on the doors? What are you doing to actually grow the business?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because I kind of have two main realms of outreach or finding people right now. One is referrals or based off of the kind of luck I had with working with Jay Klaus as my first client with this particular service. And so having Jay be a friend of mine and somebody that was willing to take a risk on me to do this with me, the first thing turned into the validation I needed to go full steam ahead in it. And then two, just cold outreach. So like anytime that I'm not really gaining clients from the content I put out or the relationships I have, I just find people who have courses or memberships or something that I think they could really benefit from having that trailer, and I'll reach out to them and I'll just do it cold. And that's been extremely fruitful compared to what we hear most of online being I put content out and I've gotten an X $100,000 business or something like that by just posting. That's not the realm for me. Content isn't the main driver. It's much more the outreach and referrals slash like relationships.
And what do you do? Because I feel like there's kind of two types of people. There's like the content and then it's all inbound, or it's like I go find people. And even inside of that, the I go find, I knock on doors people, there are, how do you pitch? Do you have a way of like creating a mock trailer, for lack of a better phrase, and then be like I know there's copywriters that'll pitch me or pitch people and say, "Oh, I wrote a 5 email sequence for X, Y, and Z." Or is it more like, "Here's my social proof. Here's where I think you can really increase." Take us kind of through that.
So for the outreach, like I took Alex Benayan's Third Door and his Tim Ferriss email, if you've ever heard of it. It's a very simple email. You can Google it and it does wonders, shockingly, for me, where I took it, I molded it into a template that fits for what the service I provide in a way that doesn't feel super salesy, much like you would see with those copywriters, right? It feels really salesy to get one of those emails. It's like, hey, I did this for you. Cool, awesome, you did it for me, but you don't actually know what my problem is. And so like you don't know whether that you're putting a bunch of effort into that cold email without knowing if it's going to like push in like to their problem enough to get them to respond. And it's what everybody does. And so with this, one, service, and two, email, the cold outreach has been kind of crazy. Like whenever I put something out, I usually get about a 4% total response rate on about 100 emails. And that's, I think, because it's a unique service, and two, I don't do it super salesy. And I'm just like, here is what I've done for Jay. If you're interested in this social proof and you want something similar, let me know. We can work together if you want to collaborate on that. And so in that email, I link directly to a LinkedIn post where Jay posted what I did for him. So it's not like I'm sending them a link to my website. I'm sending them to the exact social proof that I have of like doing this thing.
Yeah, I love that. And that's really powerful because it's one thing to have an interaction with someone and maybe they say something in an email or they text you at WhatsApp or whatever, and you pull that out and put it in your website. But when someone is messaging their entire audience and vouching for you by putting their name behind it, that's so much more powerful. So I'm excited for you that you have that to be able to lean on.
Yeah, it's massive. I'm glad that I have that social proof because without it, I think the hill would be harder to climb.
Yeah. All right. So I have your question here. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's dive in. I'm
Let's
excited.
pull it out. Okay. All right. So here it is. I've recently come to realize that I hold myself back due to a lack of self-trust. I know that if I want to grow to the next level, one of the things that I need to be able to do is to trust my gut and own my decision making. How do I better develop my conviction in my own ideas, stories, skills so that I can build the trust in a direction or project that I set for myself?
Yeah, this was a hard question to write down in my eyes because I know I'm going on this being live, but I want to dive into something. I want to give you guys an opportunity for something that could provide a lot of depth.
Yeah.
Like I think that this could be really helpful for both me and for anybody watching. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to dive into it.
I'm glad to hear that because I think this is an incredible question and I'm excited to dive in. But I'd love to hear where John would start with this.
Well, I thought it was one of the coolest questions that we've gotten thus far because it is, I live in the technical aspect whenever I'm working with my own clients and whenever I'm trying to solve my own problems, but I really put myself in your shoes and felt a lot of that too. And the first thing that I kind of want to zero in on is I know that if I want to grow to the next level, what in your eyes does that next level look like?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the next level is one, being seen as the authority in the space that I'm working in, the either video editing or the trailers slash sales videos side of things. Like I want to be seen as that authority. And I think I'm getting there slowly, but I'm not there yet. So that's one next level. And next level for two financially is just reaching the above 6 figures a year mark, and beyond. Like I want to push beyond those kind of milestones. But on the full side of the question, it's just having confidence that every day I wake up, I know with clarity where I'm headed and what I'm choosing to do each day. Because one of the hardest things about working alone as a solopreneur and on your own business is that the clarity comes from you. It doesn't come from a boss who has a boss who has a boss. And so that clarity can be so hard to decide on week by week and then hope that you're going the right direction before finding out that you may have gone the complete wrong direction for 6 months. and need a correct course. That next level on the question side of it is, how do I ensure that each day with clarity I'm going to where I want to go without putting a bunch of effort into the wrong places, if that makes sense. I hope
Yeah.
that answers the question that you have there on the multiple
Well,
levels that I'm thinking
yeah,
of this.
there's two things that I heard there. Is one is the next level is becoming the authority. And the second part of it is knowing, because I resonate a lot with that too, right? Like, I don't get a Friday paycheck. It's strategic and tactical moves, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, that are going to result in my wife not leaving me and me living on the street for the rest of my life, right? That's
Right.
my
You can come
motivator.
stay with me, buddy. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Um, before we get into that side, because I do think that that's probably going to be the most fun playground for us in the time that we have, I am curious, perhaps not in your exact niche, but what does the authority look like for other people that you know of in the solo business, creative, creator, just industry as a whole, right? Not necessarily like video editing or even like trailer editing, but just people that if that's a tangible goal that we want to reach to, what does that look like? Like, how do you articulate it? I know it's kind of a heady question, but I'm curious.
It's an interesting question. It's a very interesting question. The way that I look at it is there's two kind of realms for it. One is or two measures for it, I guess. One is that people know the trigger in which to call you out for things, like tag you in posts or comment this person is who you should go to for this. That's one big trigger that I kind of want to hit more of, is that like the one aspect of the business that's hard is that there is no direct trigger for it, because it's not as like the service I'm selling is not as easy to grasp or easy to like go, oh, I need a new website, so I go to this person, or oh, I need new email campaigns, so I go to this person. It's a little bit more like I'm rebuilding these things, so I want this kind of video, and so then I want people to go, oh, I want this, but it's not something that people necessarily post about all the time. So it's a little bit harder to achieve that, like, comment, Andrew should do this thing for you. But that is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is, I think, just a level of readership, or like, I don't know what the right word is, but the two things that I look at it are, I want to be the person that's called out for the thing. Like, I want the trigger to be known, and somebody will comment on something and be like, Andrew should do this for you, because he's the best in that space. And two, I want some level of authority around it, trust around it, that like is kind of the level that I would probably get from you, John. I've read some of your stuff and what Jay gets, or what some other bigger influencers or thought or thinkers in the space are known for. I think being a thinker in the space would be really fun. Not in a realm of vanity, but in the realm of just like joy in every day. Like, I think being a thinker in the space, or a well-known thinker in the space, would be a lot of fun.
If you're enjoying this conversation, the fun does not have to stop here. You can get regular insights from both John and I on how to build and grow your business without getting stuck in the frustration of going alone. So go to tgq.tools/signup so that you can get this type of coaching found right here on the Growth Question, delivered straight to your inbox.
And then to press on one more before, because I can see Craig salivating right now. One more. How do you think, no wrong answers, how do you think trust is built specifically in your niche and in the online world?
Over a long period of time, one, and two, through consistent effort of showing what I've done in the past and building relationships, not just selling. Those are the main ways that I've seen it done, and that's the way I do it. Even now, it's the way I've gotten jobs in the past. Just being around and building that trust and relationship of being seen so consistently. That's what they do. That's what I should go to them for, and stuff like that.
So I think there's an interesting juxtaposition to a couple of things that you've said already. And we're diverging a bit from the question, which is fine, but I just want to make sure we come back to it. But I do want to point out the fact that you said that most of your business is not done through content marketing. And yet the dialogue that we've just had here for the last few moments has really been centered around what eventually comes back to content marketing. In order
Yeah.
to occupy the space of being known and being trusted as someone who does what you do, that's not necessarily a thing that happens through one-on-one relationships. That would be like, okay, well, if someone's talking online, like I want someone to tag me in that conversation, me being you. And so I think it's interesting the clarity for your thought is to make sure that you think to the eventual end of how you're framing the problem. Because I think for what you do, to be able to expect the market to define a hook, a thing that can be defined and spoken about, that is marketing assets for products and services, which, because it sounds like you're expanding a little more than just course trailers, right? You're trying to sort of hit in there.
Yeah.
That's not a part of the normal everyday vocabulary. Right. So to occupy a place of authority in something that's not necessarily discussed on a regular basis is a really hard hill for you to climb up.
It's extremely hard.
And so what I think is interesting and probably more promising for you is to really lean into these relationships that you have to make it so incredibly easy and attractive for people that when you deliver and you kill it, they want nothing more than to tell their 4 other friends who are operating at these really high levels, you have to work with Andrew because of X, Y, and Z. And if you looked at that experience almost as a part of your product in and of itself, perhaps that might be more effective for you than thinking about how do I occupy this space in content marketing?
That is like a really big goal of mine in general with whoever I work with, is like one of the reasons I provide such a white glove service. Like, for example, John, you may not know much about my service, but I did work with Craig, and I mean, it's so white glove. It's as my goal is to make it as simple as whoever I work with to get the work done without having to do very little work themselves. Like anybody I do work for only has to record it and give me feedback. Like record the script, I create them and give me feedback, and then I do all the rest. So like it should be extremely simple for like the creator or the business owner I work with to like achieve the end result of the marketing asset that can last a long time. And with that, like I do agree, Craig, like figuring out how to make sure that what I'm doing is like so good, such a good experience that the people I work with refer me out. I think I achieved that really, really well already. I think the hard part is nobody knows what the trigger to refer me out for is. Like the point in which they should go in the conversation, whether it's online or offline, they should go, oh, you should do that for Andrew. Because it's so, and this is might be bias in my mind, but it's so easy to do it for like somebody who does a website or somebody who does email, because it's such a well-known thing already that it's like, oh, you're working on new email campaigns, you should do that. But you are right. It is a huge hill to climb on the content side, because it may be really well known in the software space, but it's not so well known in the creator space. But people who see it want it.
Right. And so I'll take and I'll affirm and I'll even say, like, how do I want to say it? Like, I totally agree with you that your service is white glove. It's the ease is there. I mean, John, we recorded this trailer and I was having such a hard time. I was totally getting in my head. I was just not delivering lines very well. And I was like, Andrew, like I need help. And so we got on a call and he just directed me. He's like, okay, do it another take, but soften this word here. And it was just like, it was such an interactive, like custom experience. And it was amazing. And so I can say from experience that exists. What I'm saying is think of it in terms of what creates a successful affiliate program. What you do, if you're gonna affiliate with someone, partner someone that way, you don't leave it up to them. You come up with swipe copy. You come up with, special landing pages for people. Like what I'm saying is like, the service is here. Yes, now up the ante and say, okay, post purchase, how can I make that an incredible experience to make it easy for you to know? You train the people you're working with what those triggers are,
I'm following.
and then make it as easy as possible for them to recommend you.
So you're saying that it's so white glove that he's the Michael Jackson of video editing. Stupid joke. Anyway.
Dude, that kid can moonwalk like Nobody's
I just
I would,
workshopping here because I think the triggering and really the reducing of friction for the partner that you're working with, right? The way my brain thinks about it is the sizzle, not the steak. Obviously, this is a concept that I think we're all familiar with, but what you're really selling isn't a video trailer, right? You know this. I know this. Craig knows this. What you're selling is increased sales. That's the end benefit. And so I
Mhm.
do think that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Craig, as well, is that like a potential trigger point is giving your partner a way of articulating what is really in it for the referral or the audience, even because in my audience, in Jay's, if we're using kind of us two as examples, like there are people that are in a need for this. It's a high likelihood that there's a lot of people at face value, and maybe I'm being slightly hyperbolic here, no one needs a course trailer, but everyone needs increased sales. That's really like what it comes down to.
I,
Exactly.
yeah.
And so I do think like in order to put the conversation in a prospect, an audience member, a referral's mind, the trigger point isn't how do I articulate trailers for courses. It's like, no. I mean, the trigger point is you want your next launch to be more successful in terms of overall revenue. Like I worked with Craig and there were aspects inside the course that resulted in more sales. I didn't want to know how to create a hook point for the next episode so I can get fulfillment rates to go up in every single user that went through the course, how to properly script my episodes and things like. No, I wanted more sales. And yes, I
Yeah.
wanted to help the people that went through it, but like yeah, that's where I think really the nugget's going to lie here is what you're selling, like the end benefit that people want is higher success rates and more sales.
yeah, for sure. And I'm curious to hear Craig's thought on it too, because like I do agree, the end benefit is sales. I think the one of the things circling back to the main question here too, is the trust in the I can't guarantee more sales, but I'm going to sell an asset that I'm marketing as increased sales. You know, like it's much like what Craig, it sounds like Craig did for you, John, right? He went through and said you should do hook points in each course module so that people fulfill it better and go through it and thus get the result better. That does increase sales over time, right? So like you eat the candy that is increased sales to do the other things, but you don't guarantee that doing those hook points in the course increases sales,
Sure. That's
right?
where I think we get into like the wonders of language and linguistics, though, where
Oh, for sure.
I don't think even in my own business, like, sure, I'll have it in certain products, I'll have money back guarantees. But when I'm selling an outcome to someone, I'm not selling them a guarantee. I'm selling them if we do these things together, speaking like about my clients, my goal in this is to give you these setup tools, knowledge, skills, and abilities so you can increase sales. But I'm not
Yeah.
selling like I'm guaranteeing I'm going to sell you a trailer and guaranteeing you're going to increase sales. And there's plenty of ways to kind of script this in any type of offer, things like that. But I'm going to give you the playbook for a course trailer that when used properly has the likelihood of increasing sales. And here are the people it has worked for, i.e., J, X, Y, and Z. And so I do think, like, I hear you. And a lot of my clients come to me and say the thing like, how can I put this in an offer and say, like, I guarantee we're not. Like, I think any
Yeah.
rational, reasonable person that's conducting an exchange of value in business knows that, like, we don't operate on you hire me under the assumption of it's all going to be rosy. There's plenty of variables that play into it. I would just invite you, because a little bit of what I'm hearing, and I struggle with this too. I would just invite you to, you talk about like building trust in this space. Like, I think a little bit, you just need to trust your work and yourself a little bit too,
Yeah.
you know?
Which is the crux of the whole question.
Well, so let me comment on that, and then we'll position more into the question because I think there's something really powerful. The guarantee is an anti-pattern. If you want someone to trust you, you need to tell them there are no guarantees. I'm restating what John just said, but anybody with jello between their ears is going to understand that just putting together a trailer isn't going to increase sales. You're selling prestige because you're fly-by-night course creator, education business who's just in it for the money isn't going to bother with these types of things. You're selling refinement. You're selling the ability to, yes, create the understanding of the value of the course in a very short period of time. But you can show a correlation between your clients who, when they start using these things, maybe their sales go up. But here's the distinction you need to make to people. Anybody worth their salt in this business, the trailer's not going to be the only thing that they change from launch to launch. So you're a part of that process. And so, yeah, you don't guarantee anything, but you offer this transformation to be able to take it from just having some assets cobbled together to having a refined marketing campaign where you are doing everything that you can, me speaking as you to your client. I'm going to help you do everything you possibly can to make sure that there's no excuse for anyone not to buy your course or your service.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's a great way to boil down what John was talking about and bring it home. I do agree. That's kind of the direction that I've been finding out that I need to go to. And quite honestly, I need to trust the data that I have more too. Because I do have the data of at least a couple of people who have done the work with me and then gotten a huge sales or gotten at least some sales benefits from it. I mean, I worked with George Blackman and he sent me a awesome testimonial, but he told me that before he posted the course and then after he posted the course, he saw an increase in sales for 2 months. I think a 30% increase in sales for 2 months after posting the trailer. So like,
Yeah.
I need to trust that data more. And so
That is huge.
Absolutely.
I
Like you
agree with
said
you
huge,
guys.
and you're like, oh, again, I think a lot of this here, and again, I know Craig keeps going to say it. Let's get back to the question. This will be the last thing I'll say on this.
That's fine.
But dude, like consistent 2 months, month over month is by definition huge. Like I do
Yeah.
think that there's a lot there. And this is why it's cool, this question that has started this conversation, because it is outside of the realm of technicalities and strategies and tools that we kind of go to in previous episodes. This is bigger than that, and talking about mindset and things like I've already kind of clicked on, I struggle with too. So it got me really excited.
There's another data point that I think is really powerful for you to consider, which would mean a lot to your ICP, and that is repeat business. So if you put front and center the percentage of people who come back to you for more than one trailer, that says a lot, because people who are running these businesses, if it's not worth it for them and if they're not getting the real juice out of it, they're just going to move on and they're not going to ask you to do it a second, a third time. And especially if you can attribute well-known names, which I know one of your well-known customers has asked you to do more than one, that speaks volumes as well.
Yeah. Multiple clients have come back multiple times.
Yeah.
And so it's awesome. And even then building off of that, some clients have come built off of the trailers that we've done together.
Yeah.
So it's
And
been
another one
really
too
cool.
is referrals. Putting a percentage up of how much of your business comes from referrals rather than just content marketing, cold outreach, or those things, because that's a huge extension of trust for your customers to be able to say, you got to work with Andrew.
For sure. Wholeheartedly agree. So, but I agree with both of you that it has to be rebuilding the trust in myself that like the work that I've done is already good enough
You're
to
right.
get me more work. And that
So
just,
here's my question to you. When have you not trusted yourself?
you really want me to answer that honestly, Craig?
I would love for you to answer that
I'm
honestly.
just kidding. I will. I'm just messing with you. Most days I question the direction I'm headed and the clarity I have in what I'm doing. When have I not trusted myself in the work that I'm doing for other people? Almost never. I question how good it is for them a lot of the time. Like I want to deliver amazing work for the people I'm working with, and so, but I've I've put things in place in my own process to ensure that they have the expectations built in all along the process, as opposed to me just delivering something and hoping that they're going to like it right away. Anytime I deliver something, my clients know that this is X% done. And so we're going to be working on this still. And it's not like fully done. But when it comes to my own stuff or stuff outside of client work, I lose trust extremely fast because the feedback loop is so much longer, if that makes sense. I think it might be a partially a feedback loop thing where like
Okay.
with client work, the feedback loop is almost instantaneous. It's I do the work, I send it off to them, they give it back to me. Boom, I know what they like and dislike. If I'm doing something for myself, for my business with no large feedback loop or a small audience of people to give feedback to, understanding if that feedback is actually valuable data is very difficult in my eyes. Thus, to answer your question, when do I
Okay.
not trust myself? Sometimes, quite often.
Ready to be on the growth question and get coaching for your business? We're always looking for businesses and people just like you to be breakdown guests for the show. Just go to tgq.tool/apply. Tell us a little bit about your business and your growth question. Awesome. Cannot wait to meet you. Now let's get back to the conversation.
So let's get concrete for a second. Give me an example of one of the situations to where you've had a long feedback loop and it's created uncertainty for you.
I think this business is a perfect example of it, to be concrete
Yeah,
with
but
you.
that's too broad. Like, give me.
Okay.
I'm talking
We'll get
about
more.
like.
Okay. Well, I'll answer. Let me edit point there for you, and I'll get really concrete for you
No,
then,
you don't have
Craig.
to edit point.
I'm
That's
sorry.
fine.
I think for that's an interesting question. If I'm pulling it back in a little bit more like specific, I think that like there's a lot of my mind um that is set on making more content to help build the business a little bit better. And I think when I drill it down a lot and I'm trying to pull out like a specific example like that, I would have to say that like there is just a long feedback loop in that aspect of it itself to see if it works that doesn't match probably my expectation for what I want from it. And so like last year or was it last year? Yeah, last year I did like 90 videos in 90 days. I started like January 1st and went through like the end of March ish. And I was like, okay, this is going to produce a lot of insight for me around the business. Maybe this will drive leads. Maybe this will do this X, Y, or Z. It provided a lot of insight for me and got me a lot of practice, which was like a really great outcome from it, but it didn't do much for the business. And so the feedback loop on it was so long because each video didn't reach enough or wasn't good enough to get some feedback from outside people other than myself, if that makes sense. So then I guess you drill it back a little bit more. You're like, oh, you need feedback from outside. You can't trust. I don't trust myself to provide the feedback that I need to build on the stuff. Anyways,
Well, I think you've just uncovered something incredibly powerful because what you've done is you've described the fact that you've put yourself in situations to where you're expecting something from the outside to validate for you whether or not you're making the correct decision. Now, there is wisdom to that because what I would rather see you do is test, not trust your ideas. And so that requires a certain amount of feedback, but you should be very intentional about what you're doing, how you're going to get feedback, and then what you'll do with that feedback once you get it.
yeah, interesting. I love that. Test versus trust. Test instead of trust. But what level of testing, like you have to trust that what you're going to test as an idea could wind up being something good, right? Or you're saying just disregard trust altogether and just test something
No.
that's on your
So
mind.
I want you to develop your intuition and develop your gut. But you said something at the beginning of the interview, which I think was incredibly telling. You said that in your business, what you want to be able to do is operate within clarity.
Yeah,
Okay. I got bad news for you. Clarity only comes from hindsight.
true.
I can look back and I can say this was a good idea or this was a bad idea. But when you're in today and you're facing forward and going in motion, you don't know for sure. Like, sure, you could call like a ridiculous idea is stupid and you shouldn't do it. Okay, fine. That we're clear about that. But when you have 2 or 3 incredibly good options in front of you, how do you get clarity about which one is right? You don't
Yeah.
until you do it. And so what you need to do is create small tests with short feedback loops for you that will help you determine, should I take the third and fourth step from here?
Yeah. How do you develop those tests when the feedback could be so small though? Right? So like if for example, I'll be even more, I'll add a legitimate example going on right now in my head. I have a new website landing page that I'm developing, right? But there's no proof that my old website isn't performing well enough. And so I want to test this, right? But why would I prioritize that over doing something else, that another test that should drive more business, if there's not enough traffic going to the website as it is, right? So then like the effort towards that feels like it's a test that should be set for later, but it's also a test that I want to run sooner, right? So like it's that push and pull of, this is probably a good idea, and like you said, there's multiple options, but if you can only test one or two, and a website, for example, has a long feedback loop when you're not sending thousands of people to it to like run through the button clicks and XYZ, right? So you don't know how fast that feedback loop is actually going to be. So how do you know what the best test is for the fast feedback loop, and how much feedback do you need in order to ensure that the test is actually successful or not?
Well, at least there's a lot of questions there, but I will at least say something that you're sitting on that I don't think you realize that you can leverage in order to see that test. Maybe not get thousands of clicks through, but hundreds, is leverage the network that you have already. I do think that the relationships, again, bringing it back to earlier in the conversation, you have so many golden relationships of people, because this space, there's so much of what you said, of even the tests that I run weekly, daily, yearly, that I don't know what it's going to yield in the end. I don't even know if this is the biggest priority of a test I should be making right now. And I have the benefit of relying on the audience that I've been able to nurture over the years, which you don't have that same one, but you do have the relationships. I think asking some of these people that trust you because they've seen the work that you've put in, hey, maybe you have to buy some space. I don't know. You have to buy some distribution. Maybe your relationship is so good that it's like, hey, name, I'm actually running an A/B test on my website, and I want to see if the actual conversions, whatever you're trying to convert, will be better in an A/B test, because whatever website builder you're using can run an A/B test, unless it's, janky. But leveraging your network to get clicks in their lists, their audience, their distribution, I do think is a way that maybe you're overlooking to help you
Mm,
answer at least this test that's in front of you right now. Now, the question of, is this priority number one that I should even be focusing on? We can click more into that. But I do think I didn't want that to go unsaid, that you've already invested a lot of time and energy into a site revamp. Don't let it go to waste, and leverage the assets that you have. And that's the trust that you've built with some big names that have a lot of resources for you.
true. Yeah, I don't want to feel like a burden though, so I don't tend to do
Well,
that, but I
that's
should.
where
Yeah.
just knowing your last name, this has been kind of a running joke on this project, this podcast, is your last name is Ellis. You probably grew up Irish Catholic. That's something that I think you're not going to be able to get over. Maybe I'm wrong, but we do have, I've been using that running joke that I don't want to be a burden because I grew up Catholic too. That's a whole different podcast episode.
It is. It's
But
a completely different thing that we're not
exactly.
going to dive into right now.
So,
I did not grow up Irish Catholic, but
oh, okay. Well,
I
swing and a
understand.
miss.
I understand it, and completely different podcast episode.
The worst, and this is like obviously true, and then I see Craig wanting to jump in, but the worst they can say is like, no,
Yeah,
but I do think, like, again, just to highlight what I said earlier, we don't get a paycheck. Everything is we're so interconnected to our livelihood that you're doing you're doing your future end clients, you're even doing the furthering of the relationships that you have with these amazing business owners a disservice by not even asking. And this is, of course, again, I'm not going to say it's easier said than done, because I struggle with asking for things too. But I do think there's so many different parties involved and so many different ripple effects at play for not getting this website that could help, Jane Doe build and relaunch a better course. And then that course is going to help the end user. Like, there's just so many layers to this that I think it's a reframing of, I don't want to be a burden, into, I don't want to let as many people down as potentially I could, I think is a way of looking at it.
I love that framing.
I do
That's
too.
such an interesting framing.
And I think that you need to understand, you're not Amazon, you're not Apple, you're not Microsoft. Okay.
Dang it.
You doing A/B testing on your homepage and doing all this stuff, if you're not running ads and you're not doing this type of stuff, to me doesn't make sense. Where you want to test is where the volume exists already. So you should be testing your cold outreach. You should be testing what your customer experience is like. You should be testing maybe what your post experience looks like. What you want to do is you want to test the stuff right now of where volume exists, where you're having interaction with people already, and not make up a new thing to where now I have to get tons of traffic to my website to do that stuff. If you want to redesign your website, come up with a mock-up. And then instead of always thinking like, well, how do I talk to my big name customers, ask them too much, go to your most recent customers, go to a few customers you haven't spoken to a long time, create a rotation so that if you have questions you want to ask people, you're not feeling like you're in this space. Because I sort of feel like if I ask someone for something, now I need to wait. Like I'm not going to ask something again for a while, because I want to create that dynamic of always wanting to get something from someone.
Yeah.
But I think there's enough opportunity for you to be able to do that rotation and then look at the right opportunities for testing where there's existing volume.
Yeah. I like that. That's a great way of looking at it, because you're right. It's like you ask somebody for one thing, there's like, it feels like you've depleted some points. And so you want to get those points before you ask for them something again, because then you don't want to feel like a taker, right? Like you want to feel like
Right.
there's a nice give and take between the two people. And so that's the worry that I hit on, is like, oh, am I going to be taking too much versus giving back to them? And so I think that both of you are right in that, like, using the people that I've worked with in a way to help me understand where I'm at is really good, and doing it in a rotation is probably even better, so that I can have a little bit more trust in the at least outside stuff. Like, am I building is the website that I'm building, is the website that I'm building good? Is the way that I'm rewording this, restructuring this copy good? Does it make it sound like something you're interested in? And which I'm going through right now, which is really nice. I think that there's a lot coming out of something I'm working on that could be very beneficial in the new year. So I'm excited for that.
So if we were to think back on this full conversation here, what sticks out to you as being like one of the main takeaways that you think you'll walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is just trusting that what I've already done is already setting a great foundation for a path forward, and trusting that those I've already worked with would be interested in helping me understand, is the messaging I'm going for, is what I'm working on actually something that's valuable to them, or could help them understand, or help me understand from them if somebody else would be interested in the work as well. So I think that overall, like, it's just a matter of, I've done the work, the foundation is set. Just let the foundation be and build on top of it.
And if people want to hear more and they want to check out either the current website or the website in beta, where should we lead them to?
Yeah, they should go to ellismediacollective.com, or they can go to my social profiles. I'm mostly active on LinkedIn and Instagram. I am Andrew Ellis on Instagram and Andrew Ellis on LinkedIn.